the treasurer.
So, as you know, it's a new year. It's a new fiscal year for us, so we spent a lot of time, we're gonna run 2 years for a while. So we opened up the new year, we transitioned everybody's salary, and we use an encumbrance system now, which means that when you look at the reports, if, for my salary, for example, you'll see it fully expended, so you know that that money's not available in the bottom line, anticipating that people will stay. So we're trying out that this year. Also, we entered everybody's new salary rates, the new health care, everybody's new co-pays based on their contracts. So Karen spent a lot of time on that, and I did as well, so she did a great job. We haven't had hardly any problems with the new system and the rollover, so that's really good. The tax bills went out, and so far Nancy's collected about over $3 million this month. So that's great. We haven't had that many complaints, and no major complaints, so everything's working pretty well with that. Related to that, we also had our tax sale in June. That was, I don't think title works, but that was a bigger event than we had anticipated. That's probably the biggest tax sale I think we've had since I've been here. Not based on properties, I just think the properties themselves, there were 8 properties. We collected $170,000 that day. So because it was so crazy, we had over 35 bidders, and they can be pretty aggressive. We had the police, we called the police over to maintain order. And normally we would just pick whoever raised their hand first because there's not as many people. Obviously that wasn't going to work, so we changed it up a little bit. Had a couple complaints, but Captain Bolter took care of it, and it went pretty smoothly. So to help you visualize how important that is, we budget maybe $95,000. This year it's $95,000. I'm not sure what last year's was for interest. And at the end of March, when we were preparing the budget, we'd only collected, say, $75,000. As of today, as of June 30th, we collected $160,000 worth of interest. That's how significant something like a tax sale can be. So $50,000 that day was interest alone. So that was good. I've attended several lengthy meetings at WB Community Health. That's the collaborative who we insure through for our health and dental. We're changing our executive director, so we're transitioning, and there's been a few problems with that, but we're smoothing it out. There's about 16 to 20 municipalities who receive their health care through that program. So we've had a lot of emergency lengthy meetings to transition that. We're spending quite a bit of time on DPW negotiations as well. We're planning for it. We're doing comparables. We've had 3 meetings maybe. We have another one on Monday. It's on the agenda for later discussion. Let's see. As you all know, the tax assessor has been out on medical leave. But Nancy and Sue Boucher have been doing a really good job fielding questions, and I stepped in when necessary, but it's going pretty smoothly. And then Patty was able to, she's been really good about being available for questions on the phone, because obviously July, the tax bills just went out. It's the busiest month for problems with assessor. And she actually came in last Monday, I think, for a couple of, for like, really what was supposed to be like half a day or so. Turned out a little bit longer to help us with the abatements and adjustments, so the taxpayers can get a timely fix to their problem. So thank you, Patty. We're planning for the lease purchase agreement for the police SUVs. We're working with, I talked to Denise about this earlier, municipal liens, MLC it's called, and they're helping us get a good price on leasing, lower interest rates, versus using the company that you buy the cars from, because the rate can be higher. And we're also looking at purchasing some DPW equipment, which we're going to put on the next agenda for that, through the same leasing agreement. Different terms, of course. I'm also researching the recreation program. As Bob said, that they're really under that program. The development now is underway. So you'll see on your warrant this tonight, you have the first payment, the $98,000. We broke it into, we didn't break it into, the contractor asked for 4 $98,000 payments. for the field itself. So I have already researched, and we have a file going for our in-kind, because as you know, the grant requires a 20% in-kind match from the town. And we did spend about $166,000 a couple of years ago, right when the grant was started to develop the land originally. So we're going to try to use that for in-kind. I believe John Lewis had spoken with them at the time and said that we could use that money. So we've got that ready to report for the next time. We submitted our 2018 audit to the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, for review for the certificate program that we belong to. And the Auditor General did approve the auditor that you selected at the last period, so they're going to begin soon. Also, we're doing the PCORI for the ACA reporting. That's people refer to it as Obamacare. One of the regulations under the Affordable Care Act is that we, even though we're a nonprofit municipality, submit a tax return for our members for a particular tax that goes to fund Obamacare. So I'll be doing that. It's due July 31st. We do it for both the town and the school. So we're doing that. And I've also reached out to the state purchasing department because they've recently made changes to their system, and we're trying to better utilize their vendors for master purchase agreements and whatever they do, try to piggyback a lot. So we're reaching out with them to see if we can try to streamline that a little bit better. And then as far as the general ledger, we're closing out last year, we're closing out certain funds. We have probably 20 funds other than the general fund that we're working on. And we are trying to get ready for our audit. Also, there's 2 major state reporting requirements, one for our budget and one for our fiscal year end for 2019. So I'm working on that too. That's going to take about a month to complete all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone from the council have a question for Kevin? No, thank you, Kevin. Now I will go to public comment. I have, Mrs. Ryder, do you want to speak again?
Yes,
Okay.
I didn't speak at all, did I?
You did.
Oh,
You recommended that we wait
Oh,
to say.
well, yeah. First of all, if anybody had asked me a year ago if I would be up here advocating for Ron Cervasio, I would have said you are out of your mind. He and I disagree on so much. And I have told him again and again that yes, I think you have good ideas, but your delivery leaves a little to be desired. I even advocated very strongly not to appoint him to the planning board again, because how many times do you have to appoint him before you learn? However, I have been gone to, quite a few planning board meetings. And no matter what his faults, the board is working. The board is addressing things. The board members are engaged. They have jobs to do. They do their jobs. I've heard comments that Mr. Cervasio oversteps his bounds. Well, when you look at the planning board description in the charter, I'm not sure how you could go outside your bounds when the planning board is advising the council in all matters concerning growth and development of the town and anything affecting the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people. That's pretty broad. And I have also heard him again and again say we are only an advisory group. We can only pass it on to the council, but his mission has been to finish things at their end and pass it on to the council. What happens after that? Even he has said they have no control over that. I would hate to see this planning board get stalled in minutia again. I think that the combination of people that you have on that board right now works. Again, I would have been the first person in the world to say, no way, Jose, but that group of people ever work. But when you see that they are checking their personal stuff at the door, and they deal with each other for the benefit of the town, it works. Now, do I condone some of the things that Mr. Cervasio does? No, not in a million years. But I would hope, and don't ask me how to do it, I would hope that you look at the productivity and try to work something out so that we don't lose that. Because this town has a history of spinning its wheels, spinning its wheels, spinning its wheels, talking about the same thing ad nauseum for years. And we just can no longer do that.
Thank you, Mrs. Riley. Mr. Renzi.
Welcome up, folks. Pretty good. I'm a member of the planning board, and I've been under 2 different chairmen. I understand there's a problem with Mr. Cervasio right now. I understand his crassness in what he says, and sometimes he rubs it wrong. But being on the board with 2 different chairmen, the first chairman, first of all, let's get to his language. When I have a planning board, and everybody's concerned about his language and what he says, when I have a planning board member after a meeting, Lisa Butler, I didn't mention her name, says to me, he's an effing a-hole, I can't stand him, more than one occasion, right at a meeting, right at the table. And I diffuse it and try not, well, don't worry about it, that's just Ron. But if Ron says something, it's bad, but someone like that can get away with it. It's a little hypocrisy, and they complain about the way Ron speaks. Her telling me that, I see no difference. Second, let me back up. I want to thank Sue Dillon for this room, okay? Because this room, I don't know if you people have done it, acknowledged her, but this is the best thing I've seen in 12 years in Forster. Okay, this is honestly someone with a vision, trying to change stuff going on. Okay, this is super nice. I don't mind coming in, it doesn't stink, it's comfortable, it's pretty. Now I don't mind somebody coming in here. It was pretty embarrassing having people in suits coming in to make a presentation in this room. Nice job, Ms. Dill.
Team effort.
Okay, I don't know who your team is, but you were the leader. Okay? Back to where I was. My first chairman, okay, the professionalism of the first chairman, wearing a do-rag and a Harley-Davidson t-shirt, while I have engineers and attorneys making presentations, it's a little so-so. I have an attorney that's eating peanuts and trail mix at a table while meetings are going on, a little so-so. I had a town council president, instead of getting engaged with the planning board and doing what they're supposed to be doing, sitting in the back of the room knitting. If you people take a look at what you're doing and what you're saying, and take a look at yourself, how can you complain about a guy that says Jesus Christ in a meeting? That's pushing stuff forward, that's trying to move things ahead. For a year I tried to get something on the agenda with the previous chairman. It goes on what he feels like going on. Ron brings everything to the table and we are working together. We have members that are engaged that when I first started, were half asleep. Okay, so the hypocrisy here that's going on, I don't get it, okay? I really, really don't get it. You guys need to leave your personalities at the door and your hatred at the door and just watch what the product is. As a business owner, if I had a guy that was a little rough under the edges, but he produced numbers, I'd have to back him versus a guy that was really nice and couldn't carry the weight. Now, I don't know where you want to go with that. And I didn't mean to insult you, insult you, but these are facts, okay? This is just how I see it, okay? It's kind of hard to do that, okay? And this is just the way it is. I think half of our problems, you as a town council president, coming to the meetings, got engaged with us and got involved with us. They might have said, that's a nice idea. How are you guys going to do that? Maybe we can do this instead of sitting in the back and waiting for somebody to do something wrong. That's what you do. You do not get involved. You sit in the back with closed ears, knitting, listen to what's going on. The minute somebody raises their voice and says something different, that's when you get involved. You should be engaged with what we're doing, okay? No offense, but that's what it is. We ruffled your feathers, you got mad and took your ball and ran home. I wish you came back and engaged with us so that we could do that. I mean, there was nothing personal. As they say, it's nothing personal, it's only business. You guys take everything too personal, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Renzi.
Something else will come to my mind as it goes on, don't worry about it.
Thank you, Mr. Renzi.
Yeah.
Mr. Sheldon, you were not on our list, but I'll certainly listen to you.
Yeah, what I got here, I thought the list was already filled out. So I didn't come on.
You don't have to stand.
Far be it for me to plagiarize Lynn Ryder. God, isn't that a bolt out of the blue? But what she said was correct. Also, what Mr. Renzi said was correct. Our board was not what it is. It was asleep at the switch. I was the first one that said, our planning board has no plan. They don't hear me saying it anymore. I don't know what a change like this would do, but I can't begin to imagine that it would be anything but we'd have to start all over again. I don't know if that's true, I don't know if it's false. But I know that we have a good thing going right now. We're looking at several different things at one time. Ron's leadership has been that everybody is willing to, it gives them a project and they go out and study it. When they're ready to talk about it, they talk about it. Okay, that doesn't mean that we make decisions quickly or badly. We do all talk about it. That never happened before. We had a member of the planning board that basically slept through the meetings. And he is one that had been asked to stay on, at least till after the election. Now that man is engaged. He's one of the most engaged guys on the board. That happened because of Ron Cervasio. I understand there's a problem, and I understand that something has to be done about it. Okay? But right now, the problem was only between two people. We're getting rid of the wrong one. I would have think the town council could maybe arrange maybe a shift in another member maybe on the zoning board to the planning board, whatever. There are solutions that do not require this. But I've been through the drill when we were all looking for members to join the planning board. And we were picking them out of a hat because nobody was available. And even if we have somebody right now, do we really know what he's going to do? It took a while to find people that would meld together and do the kind of job that's happening now. Now, is Ron Cervasio rude, crude, obtuse, and a blowhard? Yeah. And he works. And he keeps working. He does, he's involved in this thing hours of every day. I don't know that you're going to get that. I know that he's got some of us spending hours every day. We're all trying to get these things done. I know that it's frustrating because, for instance, on a recent Facebook post, Heidi admitted that she hasn't seen any of the stuff we've sent. Now, she said that to me, I don't know how many weeks ago, but more than a few weeks ago. And when she did, I mentioned it to you. You told me you'd look into it. And yet here she is, within the past week, making the same statement on Facebook. You either didn't get back to her, or she ignored you. That's pretty frustrating for the people on your planning board that's working at it. Okay? You may not like some of the stuff we put forth, but you're going to vote on it, and you can vote against it. But to ignore it isn't right. And when you have people on the planning board that are frustrated, including your chair, things are going to happen. We had a meeting about solicitor. Talked to you about it about, what, 6 months ago maybe? I thought we'd have a private conversation about it. Told you what I felt about it. Ron sat down on lunch with us, and he pretty much stood up for what I said. That situation's never been rectified. You want to say that you found that it wasn't that way, because that's what you told me yesterday on the phone. Well, that's not what you found. Okay, that's the way it is. Okay, you're not there every meeting, and you haven't been going back a ways. You started to come to the meetings, and I personally appreciate it. Okay, but once again, these are problems that exist. Basically, they're being ignored. It's like you want to put the planning board in a drawer somewhere and conform to all the little rules you have, and if we don't do anything, you're going to be happy about it. We're not. We're not happy doing something for no good reason. And right now, that's not happening. And I don't want to see that start happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you just state your name so Sue has it? You have it, okay. Thank you.
It's very, very important to me after being involved with the planning board for over a decade to hear the comments going on tonight, because the planning board does sometimes get into controversial situations. And we've been before the council before. Lesson learned is the planning board represents one of the key elements of leadership. One of the difficulties, and I've mentioned this several times, is the council and the government of Foster itself needs to be updated. Okay? It's unimaginable for me, when I look at things from a business standpoint, to understand why in the world the council serves en masse every 2 years. If you re-elect your council every 2 years and you have a 5-year road plan, in the decade and a half that I've been on the planning board, we've never implemented a 5-year road plan. If you have a 2-year council and you're trying to capital budget, okay, and most of the folks don't even know what a capital budget is, it's almost impossible to speak of amortization, return on investment, and financing when the council only serves 2 years. There's no real end state. There's no goal setting. In business, okay, you have to have a 10-year plan, because you have to have everything in place to support that plan. One of the things, as I said in the beginning, is planning. What does a business leader do? Does 4 things, basically, in this order. This is also true for military. Planning, leading, organizing, and control. Okay? In the Army, it's mission, enemy, and troops available. Okay? You've got to have these basic elements and a good understanding of them. What you've heard tonight is possibly personal comments, which I don't normally get into, and I'm not going to get into tonight. What I'm asking the council to do is to join with your members on the planning board, okay? Look into the future 10 years, okay? We're trying to be more businesslike. As Anthony said, Leave your personalities at the door. Try to be objective. Try to be realistic. If we don't start doing that, okay, we are going to continue to fall behind. I couldn't hear hardly anything Kelly was saying. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
We need to speak clearly. We need to make eyeball contact. We need to advantage the talent that comes forward to work for the town voluntarily because they really care about what's happening. The council does that. The planning board does that. Zoning does that. All I'm asking tonight from the council, okay, is to take a step back, okay? Think about people like myself, okay, who have worked long and hard for many, many years, okay, for the benefit of the town, okay? And not bragging, I bring a lot to the table, okay? I'm willing to share all my business experience, all of the knowledge that I've gained over the long time that I worked. I worked 70 till I was 73, okay? For major companies. We know about risk management in this planning board. We've got a lot of good talent in the planning board. And some of us were Boy Scouts once, okay? And if everybody thinks that they're trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent every day, please raise your hand. Okay? Some of us maybe are. Most of us aren't. Okay? So that's the human side. These are the things we want to be. I'd like the council, as the leaders of the town, to stick to those 4 points. Planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. We've been fortunate to have good chairmen on the planning board. Okay. Let's step aside and say, let's look at the results. Let's look at what the other planning board members say. And then let's make a business decision based on a 10-year plan. What do we want Foster to be in 10 years? Okay? How are we going to achieve those goals? Are we making the best use of the essential elements that we have available, the talent that we have available in the town? And let's get past these personal attacks, feelings. Let's have those privately, have those one-on-one. Don't bring them into the workshop. It's not a lot. You cannot do this in the military. You cannot do this in court. Okay? And you can't do it on the police force either. The dirt bags these guys have to deal with will push most of us over the edge. Okay? They every day they're on duty. They exercise restraint and good judgment, and if they don't, they're taken to task for it. I apologize, I always talk too much, but I've been around this long because I really do care about what happens in Foster. I've been here a long time, and I'd like to see the town continue to improve. This little Ben Eddy building, if I had never dreamed it could look this good. And this is a real good thing to be here tonight, to see that, yeah, we can affect change, we can work together, and we can make use of the talent that we have available. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope you take that in consideration as you go forward.
Thank you, Mike. Moving on, let me see, I have the hands right. Moving on, the awarding of Johnson Road culvert bid. You have within your packet a bid proposal. There are two. There is a recommendation from the DPW director. Is there a motion? Do we have a motion for the Catalano recommended bid?
I make a motion that we award the bid to Catalano Construction for $865.
What company got it?
That's Catalana.
Catalana.
See, I wasn't sure by looking at this, which one you wanted. This
It says right up at the
Catalana.
top here, recommended bidder.
Oh, wait, you've got to move there, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see
They
it.
wanted one bid?
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion, it hasn't been seconded
I'll
yet,
second
then we'll
it.
have discussion. Go ahead, so it's been seconded, thank you. Heidi seconded, Chris made the motion for Catalano in the amount of $88,865. Mr. Law, would you like to comment at this time on this? There were two bids.
Right, we had several companies come out. We had, the first one that came out was a major construction company from Rhode Island. He looked at what we had online, and he said that would work, but he said the cost, he was estimating the cost if we did it that way at around $250,000, and the road would be closed for 2, 3, 4 weeks to make this all happen. He then suggested that we look at maybe a different type of, using cement blocks, pouring the footing and using cement blocks to create the head walls in that fashion. And they did not bid on the project. I don't know why, I never heard back on it. But then the second company that came out, I believe, was the lowest bidder. He also said the same thing. I didn't say anything to him. He said, this will probably be more cost effective to do it this type of situation. I mean, to do this right, not that we're not doing it right, but technically you engineer this with engineering. I had a lot of companies call and want the engineering, diagrams and everything. And you're going to spend $40,000 to have the thing engineered, So I believe it'll work really well. Open to anybody that thinks otherwise, and then the third company, the second company that bid also bid on doing the block retaining system.
Do we have any further discussion from the council? Any questions from Mr. Wise here? We have a motion, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Law.
Kelly had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't have enough money for the lowest bid, but when he has $100,000 for his equipment, when he priced out one of the pieces of equipment that he wants to get, it's about $8,000 less than what we had originally planned. We'd like to use that money for the difference.
That make it up?
That more than makes it up.
So do we need to make a motion?
I would just make a motion because that was for equipment versus the bridge work that we did
Can we do
decide,
that
just
with
to.
the agenda items that are listed, or do we need to?
Is it an emergency?
Well, yeah, got to pay them.
When
Can
is-
it wait
when
till
is
the
the
next-
work-
It's not.
When is the work commencing on this?
It's fine,
We can wait till the next
but
agenda.
that's currently what the plan is.
Will the work
Mentally, how
start?
we're gonna pay
Will the
for
work
it.
still start?
Well,
We awarded the bid,
So it'll
so
go.
it'll go, we just have to figure out how we're paying for it.
You paid out of contingency,
this
then
has to
put it
be
back in.
done,
Yeah, we have a plan for it, so that's what we'll do.
this has to be done soon while we're in the dry season,
Yeah.
because the water flow in that.
I think it can still go forward,
Yeah.
and we just have to find a way of paying for it. Okay, thank you. Moving on, thank you, Mr.
You're all
Love. I'm all set. Have a nice evening. Thank you. Senior, senior busing, senior busing. We're gonna
Bus them out
Oh, Senior bus discussion. Carol, Bob, and I were going to go visit yesterday. No, today. Today. We were going to go visit, and then they canceled it until August 7th. So Carol asked if we could still keep it on. I had some reservations because we had the conversation last time. I don't know what conversation would be different, but Carol sent an email to everyone, so we have that email in front of us. Carol, do you want to say anything else?
So, yeah, I sent an email to everybody just to kind of refresh your memories on where we were and what the quote was and everything for that. Last time we met, the plan was that we were going to, Denise and I and and Bob, if he was available, we were gonna go to Ripton today and then bring back any information tonight so that we can go ahead and order the van. The van is gonna take about 6 months to be made, to whatever specs we want. So time was of the essence, we thought that the timing would work out great. Now they've postponed that meeting for 2 weeks from now. We only have one meeting in August, which is the end of the month. So I'm just concerned that this is pushing this back even further with ordering the van. The email that I sent to you folks, there was things that were just regular, and then there were things that were highlighted. The highlighted things were the ones that, when I had a conversation with the Victor rep, he said that he didn't really think that we would need on our van. The other things that weren't highlighted were just basic features that, that we need for the vans, in his recommendation. So the yellow things were the ones that were in question. Most of them, I don't think we had a problem saying when we met last time that we didn't want them. There were a couple things that we needed further discussion on, which is what Denise and I were gonna have tomorrow, or today rather. One of them was that child safety thing. The other thing that I didn't have answers to last time was the lettering, and how much that lettering was going to cost. If we have them do the lettering when we order the van, we're only responsible for 20% of what the cost of that is. Seems like a good deal to me. I looked at...
Which was about $200.
It depends. I mean, they said that their lettering was close to 2,000. I think it was 1,900. I can't look, for their vans, but they have to have certain, you know, specifications and stuff that they have to have on their vans. We don't have to have that much. I looked at the possibility of whether we just had an emblem on there, which was the cheapest way to go, but I was concerned about the visibility for that, for the elderly to make sure that they knew that that was our van and stuff. So I went over to the police department, took pictures, sent you guys the pictures, and said, you know, if we could do something like that, that just said Foster Senior Transport on it, it would be very big, very visible. I don't know how much exactly that's going to cost. When I had talked to the RIPTA guy, he thought we probably could get lettering for maybe about $1,000, which 20% of our cost would be $200. I called the police department just to find out how much their lettering cost. When they had theirs done, it was about $800. But they said that they were using somebody that was up in Gloucester, and that person is no longer doing what they did, or is no longer in business. But they had ordered theirs at the time that they had done, the lettering at the time that they had ordered their vehicles. So that $1,000 to me seems like it's probably pretty much in line. So the reason I wanted to bring that to you guys today, and also for you to please make a decision about the child safety thing, is so that when Denise and I meet with them in 2 weeks, we can just say yes, rather than have to wait to bring it back to the council at the end of the month and use up more time. Part of my concern with that is that the grant runs from June to the end of May. So we're losing, every month, we have the possibility of losing that funding. The state has not told me at this point whether or not they will extend it. I actually sent an email today and said, what about the possibility of us using the money that we're not using for these months that we don't have the van, because the grant was for the operation of the van, so obviously we're not operating from June to possibly January or February at this point. Could we take that money and use that towards the actual cost of the van, which would then reduce what our cost is? I don't know if I can do that because that wasn't written initially into the grant, but it was worth the question. So they have to decide. So they have to decide whether they can do that, whether they can extend the grant, or whether we just lose these 7 months of the grant because we don't have the van. So that's kind of where I'm at with that sort of stuff. And that's why I wanted to send that to you guys, and I wanted to still have the discussion today, just to see if, as a council, you guys would be willing to just say to Denise and I, yes, we trust you guys to make a decision. what these options are not a lot of, money-wise, it's not a great huge amount. We've already gotten the approval from, when we did the financial town meeting, that we would put the money towards the van, and so I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were on just giving us the okay to do that, and to ask you what your opinions were on that child safety thing.
What is the pleasure of the council?
Is that the major thing that you want us to make a decision on? I mean, you have all these other things that I highlighted. You've already decided no on those, the tough books.
We did.
We did,
yeah.
Those are all gone. Okay,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
is
those
the-
were things that RIPTA needed on theirs, but when
Okay.
I talked to the RIPTA rep, he said, we don't need those here in Boston.
Right, right.
Because
So-
we're talking a 9-passenger van, it's not.
So the only remaining thing of all these highlighted items is that
Child
the
safety.
child safety.
Right. And
On
the
the
child, the
Got it.
child warning
Letter.
safety
Yeah.
option requires that the driver release a button at the back of the bus before turning off the vehicle. This is a safety to measure, to make sure the driver doesn't leave someone on the bus. And as you said, it's a 9-passenger. If he leaves somebody on the
Not
bus
talking
with
Yeah.
about children.
It's-
Right,
Right.
we're not talking about a bus of
Exactly.
Then you-
7 kids, right?
But really small, old adults.
Yeah.
They shrink.
So, the other thing, just to let you know too, when I had talked to the RIPTA rep a couple weeks ago, this quote was based on what they ordered in January. There may be some minor changes in the money part on some of these things, just because times have changed. I know that when we went to the town financial meeting, we were looking at 20% of the 90,000, I think it was at the time. And so we looked at $18,000 that was approved, and then by taking out all of these things that were highlighted, it was down to 13 and change, which is what I hope we can still keep it at, but I don't know, and we won't know until we go to that meeting exactly what the cost is going to be. So I don't know, I just wanted to ask if you guys could trust us to make that decision rather than have to bring it back at this point.
I just have a question. There's highlighted the safety vision special severing camera recording system. I thought we had discussed keeping a camera on for the safety of the passengers. Did I recall?
I don't remember that, but.
We said we didn't need 7 cameras.
We don't need
only
7, we
need
need 1.
Right.
I thought we said 1 camera.
We did.
So then we'll have to ask them what that would cost.
And then it worked both ways.
Right,
The driver
the
and-
driver and the
yeah,
safety,
right.
right. So the driver's not going to attack and the passenger's not going to attack.
And vice versa.
Right, that's what, yeah. The child warning monitor system, is that like on the school buses, that the children getting off the bus, that they're a distance away from the bus so that when the bus moves?
I don't know what the requirements are for RIPTA, whether that's school buses, whether that's city buses, whether that's, RIDE, the senior transport RIDE. I don't know what their requirement is, if that's on all of their vehicles or if it's only on certain size vehicles.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Anyone in the audience? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow Denise and Harold to make a decision when they meet with whoever you're meeting with, to what it needs to be included or not included in order the bus.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Carol. Moving on, we have a resignation letter from the zoning, that was for Mr. DeRamo that we have in our packet. Didn't he resign last month? No, that was still in
No.
This- So we have two
Yes.
positions, okay,
Right.
thank you.
Do you want the letter read?
Yes, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay. I am submitting my letter of resignation from the Foster Zoning Board effective immediately. I have found that family and professional responsibilities are such that I do not have the time to devote to the research on matters before the board that I feel is necessary to make a true and honest decision. I would like to thank the town of Foster and the zoning board for affording me the opportunity to serve our town and do feel that this board has made fair and responsible decisions. Thomas DeRamo.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept Tom's resignation with regret.
Second. Joe, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. He really missed you for a lot. Both of those gentlemen did.
He'll get a letter thanking you for his service.
Yes, Sue always sends that out. We have zoning board appointments. We have 3, I believe. We have Mr. Carey. We have, Dee Kacheri. Donna, is it Donna Kacheri? Kacheri. She, I didn't see her here tonight. And Raymond Oliver. Mr. Carey is here. Is Raymond Oliver here? Does anybody have questions?
I don't know who Raymond Oliver is.
He just moved into Burgess Road, to Burgess Road. They have 5 children.
I know Donna's lived in town for quite some time, and I know she is interested in the town. She posts on some sites, and she's very interested in what's going on. So at this time, if we could do one at a time, I would make a motion to appoint Donna Berchier to the zoning board.
Okay.
Now, is she filling somebody's term?
Yes, so we
Which
would need to,
one?
Mr. DeRamo's term ends in December of 2021. Mr. DeLuca's term ends in the term of 2022.
So
Mr. DeLuca
Was
put
the
his
first.
was first, so it'd be 12/22.
So are you moving the 2 one-year zoning board members up to full zoning members?
they did not put in a letter requesting to be from an alternate to a permanent position. So we would look at the
Are they
general.
aware of that?
They're not aware of that, I don't think. Because he was here last night for recreation.
We can't hear.
Which ones? I know was,
They're
Right.
at Smith and Nick. We don't know whether they're interested in that or not. So I hate to make them
Right.
full if they're not.
yeah.
And that would cut their term. Their term would be, the term of the person would be
Right.
filled rather
Not
than their term.
which
They
ends,
would need,
they
no.
end
I think they're
this
even,
year.
So can we?
aren't they, no, they were just appointed, weren't they?
Yes, but an alternate isn't 5 years, an alternate is 1 year, and an alternate is only 1 year. So their term expires in December of 19.
So should we maybe wait until the next
Sure.
meeting until, just to find out if they, so we send them letters?
So
and
you
ask
have
if
the
they're
zoning
interested?
board meeting in August scheduled?
So you, but the alternates would be.
No, yeah, it was hard to get them there last time.
Right.
I
That is
don't
one
think we
thing.
have anything.
I do know that the alternates did not always attend meetings. Actually, one alternate attended 1 meeting, another alternate attended 2, but came late to one of those 2.
I think Jennifer harassed them to come to the last meeting because it was not, she was calling, we were waiting, she was calling people. But we actually have an appeal scheduled, but I don't think it's gonna go forward.
I hate to put it off, but I also don't want to fill those spots if somebody else that's already serving is ready, wants to move up.
What's the pleasure of the council?
I'll-
move we table.
I'll
until
withdraw
the
my
next
motion.
meeting.
I don't know if anybody's seconded.
Nobody did.
Nobody seconded the
Okay.
motion. So, okay, so we've had a motion and it was seconded to table the zoning board appointments to the next meeting. Who seconded? Joe. Sure. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Just had a question.
Yes.
Have all of the council people had a chance to interview those 3 potential appointees?
I believe they have not, so that would also be a good suggestion to get in touch with those. I mean, we certainly know Mr. Carey, I do know Donna somewhat, I do not know Mr. Oliver.
thought they were invited to.
They were all
They were all invited. They were all
So that we
invited.
could talk to them.
They were all invited.
I would suggest that because Mr. Duran was not technically the alternate, that that being posted, however you post it, right?
So maybe we'll
Now
be
they're
around.
out.
But if you can notify the two alternates and see if they're interested in moving on up, that doesn't necessarily mean we have to approve that.
Correct.
So, just so that you know that an alternate doesn't necessarily go into a permanent full-time position.
Well, if it has to come to
Okay, moving on to the recreation, we have
Tiffany Oliver.
Tiffany, yes, Oliver is interested. Is Tiffany here tonight? No. I do know I received an email from Tammy, the chair of the recreation, and she would like to, and maybe we want to table this one also so that we can talk to Tiffany. It seems that people come onto the recreation committee, they come to the meetings somewhat, but then they do not show up at the events, so it's only 2 people that are at events. For instance, the food truck event, there were 2 from the recreation committee that were there. So she would like it to be known that it's important that you attend.
I think she
events.
talked to her already.
She didn't mention that in her email. So what's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion, we table it till next meeting. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. You have the poll petition for Snagwood Road in front of you. Mr. Moore submitted his letter. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the whole position for Sandwood Road. Second.
Discussion? I would make sure that it says that it's at least 3
3
feet
feet.
from the
Right.
edge of the road. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, we have additions and abatements. I did not print that out, so I can't.
Yeah, I just gotta get back up there at the top. Because there's two separate ones. I know, I was a little confused because, okay, 'cause we have two different ones. Let me see, where is the second one? I just wanna make sure I didn't piece the right thing. Okay. All right, so.
Want to do 2 separate?
Yeah, I'm going to, I think
Thanks.
separated, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the tax assessor's recommendations for motor vehicle 2019 additions in the amount of $386.61. Motor vehicle 2019 abatements in the amount of $1,683.87. Tangible 2019 abatements in the amount of $152.52. Real estate 2019 abatements in the amount of $9,911.90.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the
Next
next
one, okay, I will make a motion to approve the tax assessor's recommendation for motor vehicle 2019 additions in the amount of $776.34. Motor vehicle 2019 abatements in the amount of $668.50. Tangible 2019 abatements in the amount of $358.72. And real estate abatements in the amount of $5,569.83.
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, we have the request from the Thornton Beagle Club for a Class F liquor license for the date of August 18th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I move that we grant Thornton Beagle Club Class F liquor license for 8/18/2019.
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have executive session, but before that, I have future agenda items. There have been several. Public hearings, solar. So that, I know Jennifer's going to post for that. Recreation. No, I can't even do my writing. DPW equipment, the lease. The monies moved for the DPW for the culvert, zoning board appointment, and recreation appointment. Are there any other?
Police station building committee, please.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, hearing that, I will take a motion to go into executive session.
Denise, before we go into executive session, has Mr. Cervasio selected whether he would like public or private? He does have up until right now to make a decision.
I have not heard anything.
Open.
Would you like it open? I did not know that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be removed. Okay. And so policies and number 2, policies and procedures needs to be removed from executive session.
It should be just removed from the agenda. It's not in line with the OMA statute for that specific section.
Thank you. We need to make a motion for that?
No, just for Mr.
Okay. So, Mr. Cervasio, you want to go into open session?
I'm still here, it's still open.
Thank you. Mr. Cervasio, we received a letter in regards to this meeting tonight. Just give me a moment. We did receive, I know several people mentioned Lisa Butler making filing letters, and she did. But the main reason that you've been asked to attend is we did receive a letter, and I cannot open my laptop. I did receive, thank you, notification from Henry Chabot regarding a phone message that you left on his phone, on his cell phone.
Yeah.
Left a message for him. So he did send a letter to the town of Foster, and I will read it. It says, Henry Chabot, dear council members, I have been advised to file a formal complaint against Mr. Ron Cervasio, a member of Foster's Planning Board and a town official in Foster. I received a call on my cell phone and was left a voicemail. It was from Mr. Ron Cervasio. Advised that the Foster Feed Shop looks like a piece of, I'm sorry to use this language, shit. Everything that I touch turns to shit. Mr. Cervasio then threatens the business by saying he's going to do everything within his power to shut the place down for good. Then continued to say that I am all done screwing the town and he is going to have the place cleaned up for good. The actual phone message from Mr. Cervasio has been given to Gordon and Heidi Rogers. Sincerely, Henry Chabot. So that's my main concern. I know that there's letters here from Lisa Butler, which I can also read. But my main concern was the phone call to Mr. Chabot.
Right.
Mr. Carpenter made a very good point that we need to show restraint and good judgment. I personally feel you did not show restraint or good judgment with that phone call. Last time we met, you were advised to temper some of your comments on Facebook, your comments to people in public, that you, as an appointed official, are by a higher standard, and we all agree to that. And then we get this from Mr. Chabot.
I made that call. I stand by it. Mr. Chabot has taken the Foster Feed Shop and turned it into truck parking lot. He's running numerous businesses there without permits. It follows trying to clean up Route 6. I go back to him building the bait shop and the 3 or 4 years of legal, I'm going to leave it there, problems. And the deal was, when the bait shop was closed, it was supposed to be taken down. And it's now something else. So here's what I have to say, okay? I have worked for the USDA, the General Accounting Office in the United States, the NCAA, Action for Boston Community Development, Inner City Youth Program for 7 years. I was a successful Division I coach, very successful Division I coach. I was, I have 13 years of graduate school. I have 3 master's degrees. None of you people are my friends. None of you travel in my world. I don't like you, you don't like me. Make your decision, you want things done, or you don't. And so, I'm 70, almost 75 years old. I've been working for this community for 30 years. Most of you have no ideas the things I've accomplished. We have 2 people here that put on the internet, I have an MBA in phys ed. Your state senator thinks that. We send him down to meet with some of the most important people in the state. And he thinks you get an MBA in phys ed.
We're here to discuss.
Yes, we're here to discuss me. And if you don't feel that what I do for this community is valuable, that I haven't changed your planning board into something that you can be proud of, you get to make your decision.
Mr. Cervasio, are you done? May I speak?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, maybe I'll have something else to say, but...
Okay, we'll give you that. Mr. Cervasio, you do come up with many ideas. I've told you many times, as Mrs. Ryder mentioned, you have some good ideas. It's your delivery. You were warned at the last executive open session to watch. We are in litigation. We are in litigation with some of the things that are on Route 6. You are aware of that because you wanted a copy of it. You have infringed on that litigation and have hurt the possibilities of moving forward legally because of your comments.
Well,
that's a problem.
That is a problem, and if it's become too much of a problem, then you can take care of it, all right? You have 6 buildings that by state law, you have the right to demand to take down. All right?
Mr. Cervasio, that's not the point. The point is the way you behave and conduct yourself.
Listen, I'm not going to be talked down to people
Well, you're
less than
talking
me.
down,
To everything.
don't you?
So, I just did. I just did.
Mr. Cervasio.
As far as I'm concerned,
You've always been concerned. 30 years ago, when I tried to fix the elderly and disabled tax freeze, you and your father ate me alive, and I watched you, about 26 years later, vote for the exact thing I wanted done years ago. You destroyed my reputation, you and your father. Okay?
Mr. Cervasio. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take your vote.
Is there anyone on the council that would like to add to this discussion?
I just like to say, I've said the same thing to Ron many times, that he has good ideas, but it's the delivery. You cannot.
You can't replace me.
Excuse me.
You can't replace me, just take your vote.
You are irreplaceable, Ron.
But you're right.
You cannot, as a public official, which you are, go on, and I'm not saying we can censor Ron Cervasio, the citizen, on Facebook, because we can't. But when you are posting as the chair of the planning board.
I never posted as the chair of the planning board.
Calling our citizens effing a-holes, I would say.
Just take your phone, get it
Okay,
over
all
with.
I'm saying is we
You
don't
know,
do
Denise,
so.
I asked you, if you want me to resign, all you have to do is ask me. Remember that? I said, all you have to
Would you like
do,
to
you didn't have to
resign?
do this.
Would you like to resign?
I want you to fire me, if you're gonna do it. I want Gordon Rogers, I want to see Senator Rogers be happy.
Denise,
Yes.
did you want?
Do we need to play this?
You need to make findings of fact, so.
Would you play it, Mrs. Rogers?
If it won't be loud enough, I don't know if there's a mic. I don't know if you can hear this, especially with that. You guys in there.
What's the need of that, Ron? Did
Just listen.
Things you're upset with what I've been saying. So let me tell you personally, you've done nothing but take damage to this town, right? Everything you touch is shit. The place looks like shit. And just so you know, I went to that place every day, but not one time was your place open when it was supposed to be. Now you're out of business, and I'm going to keep pushing to have that place cleaned up and closed down. Anything else, let me know. 397-61235.
There you go.
That's somebody who is supposed to go before the planning board for a commercial site review.
How could he?
How can he?
Exactly.
How can he?
Exactly.
Mr. Cervasio, you did put made that difficult now, as a member of the planning board, leaving that. That's the whole problem, Mr. Cervasio.
How can we
is that
clean up
you
Route 6?
Do things, I think you get zealous, I'm not sure. I do think you have the town in mind, and you want to do good for the town, but your zealousy for it takes advantage of you.
All right.
And I do regret that, Ron. I
No
do
problem.
regret that. What is the pleasure of the council?
Has Mr. Chabot done anything with this? Is he going to do anything with this?
Nothing he can do.
He's appealed.
I don't know.
There's nothing he can do.
Currently,
I don't think, excuse me.
well, I think that's public because it will be on the next agenda. There is an appeal pending in front of the zoning board for the last violation that Rhett has issued. So after that, it very well could go to court depending on the outcome. And as far as what Mr. Chabot's going to do, I don't know. It could be. I too don't disagree with you always, Ron. I've said so. And again, it's delivery, and that's a perfect example. And now our hands are probably gonna be tied.
And I agree.
You know, I don't know how your hands could be tied with what you're looking at. It didn't, my phone call, that thing's been going on for how long?
Mr. Cervasio,
Don't just.
we are all aware, but we have to show restraint
Okay,
and good judgment.
there, I understand. There you go.
So, I will ask you, would you like to resign?
No, I want you to take a vote.
Oh, your hand, I'm sorry, I didn't know your hand was up. Mr. Sheldon.
Happens all the time. To my knowledge, I haven't missed a meeting. Going back for a
Could
year
you
and a
speak
half
a little
before I was
louder,
on.
Jeff? It's hard to hear with the air conditioner.
I haven't missed any meetings in the planning board going back a year and a half before I was on. I've never heard Mr. Cervasio say that, even say the words, cross your feet. He's never talked about them in the meetings. He's never said anything to us or to the meeting in general about Mr. Chabot. Well, for a long time, I don't know who Mr. Chabot was. I mean, I do know that now, but he obviously did this on his own time. He certainly didn't do it in the middle of a meeting. And I think we're getting into the area where you guys think that people should be perfect off stage. And I think that, honestly, there are some people, there's a lot more people that are misbehaving off stage than Mr. Cervasio. Because that, I'm by no means saying that all of it's okay. I'm not doing that. But I'm saying that we've been letting this stuff go for a long time. All right? Mr. Chabot, for instance, let's use him as an example because that's what you're using for an example. All right? He got a mobile home in there on a temporary permit. How temporary has it been for the years it's been there? Okay? That's something that the town council has refused to deal with. Okay? Nobody wants to deal with it.
I beg to differ with you, Mr. Sheldon. There is a process that we've been going through, and that process...
Don't say it behind people's back. There are a lot of backstabbing people in this town. I've never met it like that in my life, okay? So I'm just figuring I'd let you know. Okay, in the city where I'm from, it's face to face, okay? Up here, it's behind closed doors. Okay, it's behind the camera that the stuff happens with the grins and the smiles, and behind the board.
Mr. Renzi, you're discussing Mr. Cervasio.
I'm discussing him also. This is why it comes here. This is all personal. I told you at the first time of the meeting. You people need to let go of your personal feelings of each other, okay? And just what the product brings forward. You want to can the guy, can him. Don't stop bashing him in here and bringing all this crap around. He's a big man. Make your vote. Okay, he can take it. Big mistake if you vote him out. I'll tell you that right now. Listen to me, it'll be a big mistake if you vote him out.
Thank you,
Okay?
Mr. Renzi.
I'd like to say Ron had the option of having this in closed session.
He wanted it public.
Yes, he did.
I have nothing to hide.
Okay, Ron, I'll also say, I was friends with Ron for years. He sat at my kitchen table for many years
Yeah,
at
I've read
6
those
o'clock in the
posts.
morning, right? So personal, this has nothing to do with me and how I feel about Ron personally. I've said, I think Ron has great ideas. I think this is unfortunate. It's personal to the people who've been insulted by him, who've been threatened by him, who've been belittled by them. I'm used to it because I've dealt with Ron for years and I'm a public official, I can take it. But those people are the people that we are here for. And if we take no action, then we condone it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're right. Take your action. I mean, he's a big man. He can take it.
Okay?
But let's make that for everybody that has done things of that nature. Behind the camera
And when we
is just
get
as bad.
letters, we
Okay?
address them.
See, I don't complain
That's the problem.
about Lisa Butler going on rampages and I pretend I don't hear it, okay? So, and I've never complained about anybody. Okay, I have. See, she helped me out, all right? So,
You wrote a letter about Joe. How could you not complain?
okay, please take your vote, all right?
Thank you.
You've heard
What's
that
the
piece.
pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion to remove Ron Cervasio from the planning board, effective immediately,
Per the charter.
per the charter.
Within your packet, you would receive what the charter states. So is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I second that so that we could discuss this. If this was a union thing, he'd be written up once, he was. He'd be given another warning. This is a second warning, and I would be willing to treat it as a second warning. But Ron, nothing gave you the right to go and call this and it says here, I will do everything within my power, whatever that meant. I don't know if you meant by planning board chair or what you meant by power. What you meant, please let me finish. What you meant by that. But you're representing the town. You know how many times you tick me off and I bite my tongue in here till it almost bleeds? I do it. I bite my tongue. It's not because I go behind closed doors, Anthony, and say things about people, because he knows I'll say it to his face, as I will to you.
I will get up and make a public comment if I feel that strongly about it. I've done that before. I don't like being talked down to any more than he does. I know things about him that he told me about himself, and he still wants to be involved in public community service or whatever it is that he wants. You want to be involved, Ron? You've got some great ideas. I listened to several of those planning board tapes, and I heard some good things coming out of them, like these people espoused. And I thought, maybe we're going to get someplace. And then you turn around and you do this.
This is an old, what's the date on that letter?
This is not old.
That happened a year ago.
Really?
Yes.
Well, this letter was written July 19th.
I'm telling you, that phone call
Really?
is over a year old.
Well, now
It doesn't matter.
It's
Really? It does matter.
Listen, that's a he said, she said
You're
thing,
right.
and we can't prove it.
You can ask Mr. Chabot.
I am suggesting to you that maybe, and to the council, that we try to secure some kind of verbal assurance from you that this kind of behavior we can't keep coming up here and addressing this kind of thing. Then the people are gonna think we're ignoring them.
It's just Ron.
And
That's what Ron does.
And that's not what we are up here to do either. I don't wanna sit up here and have a disciplinary hearing. That's the last thing. I wanna see things happen too. You got some ideas, I'd like to see you be able to pull them through fruition. However, we're not gonna get there this way. And if you could assure me, maybe the others, maybe we will.
Okay, I'll assure you that I will not contact anybody outside the auspices of my chairmanship, which I haven't done. I was a planning board member when that happened. But I will tell you this, all right? When I say I do things that you can't replace, people laugh. And you think it's not true. Right? You say good ideas. Not only do I have good ideas, I make things happen. The things I did on your, the things I did on your school committee, ask Michael Barnes, right? Do you want good things to happen? So if you want assurance, next time all you have to do, Denise, just walk up to me and say, Ron, will you resign? I said, I told you that the first time. There's no need for any of this, all right? Because I'm almost 75 years old. I can go volunteer my professional time anyplace. So there you have it.
Well, this particular thing, you said within your purview, this particular thing was in the hands of the zoning board. It stepped out of your realm, did it not?
This happened before, I'm telling you, this is, which I have no proof of. This happened so long
I
ago.
don't either.
What?
I said, I don't either.
Yeah,
Why would it come up now if Ron made a phone
because he's
call?
getting called in.
Did that ever enter anybody's mind?
Yes, it has. I mentioned that, Mr. Renzi. If you listen to me sometimes, you would have heard me say,
I'm listening.
Mr. Chabot might be using this, yes. But now, because Mr. Cervasio has made this phone call, we have to address it. And perhaps our whole litigation is now in jeopardy.
So listen, if that's the case, you have an attorney. If me being on the planning board is gonna affect your ability to negotiate, I don't have a problem with this, all right? What I said was this guy's taken advantage of us for years. Go back to the bait shop.
There's more behind this than
So
Ron's phone call.
So I hate to see our town the things that have gone on there are incredible. So honestly, I don't have a problem if you ask me to go, you take a vote, I go. If it's going to affect your ability to negotiate, I'm out of here. all right?
The thing is, it's the respect. You don't show the attorney any respect. You certainly don't show us any
I
respect.
show nobody respect, and I don't expect anybody to show me respect.
Okay, good, because.
No, I don't. This is business.
Mrs. Ryder.
No, I was just saying, if, first of all, I would be curious to see when Mr. Chabot received this phone call, because part of your reason for removal of Ron is because he was warned once, and you can say, but if that happened before, he was warned once and told what would happen, then this, you know, yes, it's gonna screw up your litigation, maybe, maybe not. But it's not, it perhaps is not something that just happened. And if Mr. Chabot has been I would also wonder, who advised him to file this at this particular juncture? Because, again, if he is using this, well, that's on him. If this happened before Ron was warned, we don't know.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryder. Anyone else? Did you raise your hand? I didn't know. Mr. Cervasio, you sit there and say, I will not. I'm not so sure you can do that. I think you mean well, but I'm not so sure you can do
I
that.
am not a child.
He didn't do it after you said it.
Oh, there were other things that were done after. There was something done the very next day.
We're gonna lose this.
You know that,
We're gonna
Mr.
lose
Renzi.
this. Somebody
There was
on the planning
something
board?
done the very next day that I did not put in this file.
Listen, I want to say again, because I'm the deciding vote on 101, you get a letter, all right? I only vote when there's a tie, because I was the deciding vote on a 22-acre solar farm. You get a letter and you react, all right?
I don't think you were the deciding vote, Mr. Renzi.
I was the deciding vote on the 101, excuse me. I can tell you the exact votes. Anthony was asked to not vote, right?
Go ahead.
Because Joanne asked him not to. Joe voted no, Helen voted no, all right? I don't know who the third no vote was. Jeff was yes, Lisa Butler was yes, Mike Carpenter was yes, and I was the deciding vote for. The next day, or 2 days later, you get a call that said, I said the F word. All right? And you didn't take that into consideration as payback. I was the only vote for the St. Croix gravel bank that ended up costing you a lot of money because I knew the law. I said the Right to Farm Act. She told me I was wrong. Pollard told me I was wrong. Restivo told me I was wrong. Sergio told me I was wrong. And the judge said I was right. So I do good service for you. I am not sticking up for myself. I'm asking you to take your vote. This happened over a year ago. And why? He's negotiating with me. He's using me as his negotiating tool. If it's going to affect your ability to win against this guy, get rid of him. But I'll tell you this, you better get ready to really fight this guy finally once. All right? Because and this is a public hearing and it's on camera, so I won't say all the things he's done that are illegal. All right? But it's about time the town takes somebody and rip them apart who takes advantage of this town.
Thank you, Mr. Cervasio. We have a motion. It has been seconded. Any further discussion?
The policy or the procedure in the book requires that we, in the charter rather, requires that a letter be sent. So if you are going to take a vote, the removal would be for cause. So you should, if everybody can state their cause, or collectively come up with one, because it needs to be in the correspondence that's sent.
We need to do that now? Come up with a clause now?
Yes.
And that should be in our motion?
It can be in discussion.
And discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
You taking one at a time?
So yeah, poll the board for the vote and reason.
Okay. So, Mrs. Dillon, would you poll the council members?
Heidi Rogers?
Aye. And I'll say that my reason is for the treatment of citizens, the lack of decorum, just basically disrespect.
Stone?
I believe, Ron, that you stepped over your bounds when you made that phone call.
Absolutely.
As a result of that phone call and a result of things that I've seen, the way you treat people at a planning board meeting, in the public, the things that you say as an official, and we talked about that the last meeting.
Cheryl Hawes?
Aye. For the way you treat people, your disrespect, and stepping over the line when you made that phone call, whether you made it this year or last year. It was still inappropriate to do. And we had asked you to not to do things like that.
No.
And your reasoning, Mr. Cardillo?
I don't have to give a reason.
Yeah, no, if it's nay.
If it's nay, he does not. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
No, that's okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. Cervasio, you will be receiving a letter. Within that letter, there'll be your rights and how you can proceed.
I will tell you this, Joanna. I received my 48-hour notice yesterday at 11:24 at the post office
So,
in Foster, excuse me.
well, wait, because I know what you're gonna say, and I think that this is going to, right now, the removal, he has 21 days to ask for a public hearing, so he's still in office.
No, you have violated my rights not delivering me my letter in 48 hours.
So right now, this action is just, you are still in place. You can request a public hearing on the removal. This is just to vote to send you the removal. So if the board, he would still be
7:23.
acting.
We have your green card here that when it's a registered letter,
Yeah,
it says that you signed for
does
it.
that look like my signature?
It says that you're signed for it on 7/23. It says
Go to
signature.
the post office in the computer.
Okay, so this is not something where you are required advance notice. The action that's taken tonight, you are still technically in place as planning board chair.
I'm very happy with it. Thank you very much for helping me, relieve me of working for the town of Foster. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Savazzi.
deserve
I'd like to
everything you
take a
get.
vote to suspend him during the pendency of the
See you,
removal,
Mike.
because he is able to appeal it. That would be a separate vote that you could take, and he would be notified of that.
What is the pleasure of the council?
I didn't hear the
The
Yeah,
beginning of
I
this,
didn't
that
really follow
we could suspend him at this point until the 21 days when he can have his public hearing.
Well, he has 15 days, and then you have to schedule it within 21. So that could be, I mean, he could appeal it on the 15th day, and then you could not schedule it for 21 days later. So
Oh,
until there is an actual, if there is an appeal or a hearing, he's still effective, so.
I make a motion, we suspend Ron from his position until the open hearing.
is there a second?
One second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on, we will now go into executive session. I'll accept a motion for that.
Do you have the?
Do you have the, we have